Hello friends, welcome to Laws and Scriptures 360. So in today's video, we're going to continue with our question and answer series on the Nigerian Tax Act 2025. This is going to be my third video on this topic, and I know I've answered a lot of questions, so this ones will be the last set of questions I've been taking on this topic. So I think you have to go through the first. The second is a short video, and in the second video, I address questions from Nigerians in the diaspora and their eligibility to pay tax. I also answered questions relating to creatives. If taxes, if the proceeds from their craft is taxable. Those questions were answered. I also answered questions relating to earnings from cryptocurrencies and the likes. And I mentioned that these earnings are taxable under the Nigerian Tax Act. So before now, they enjoyed some sort of tax exemptions, and they were not paying taxes at all from the earnings from their craft and from the proceeds of cryptocurrency and the rest. But under the Nigerian Tax Act, they will begin to pay taxes. So those who are earning both in naira and in dollars will be paying taxes under the Nigerian Tax Act that is built to take effect from January 2026. The essence of this video is to equip us, for us to get equipped and know what we are expected to do, prepare for January 2026, because most of these taxes that were enacted this year will become effective from January 2026. So if you've not seen those videos, you may need to go back and see them to get acquainted with what information that you are required to, so that you are not taken advantage of by anybody or intimidated by anybody. You know the law and you know the law. You remember, ignorance of the law is not an excuse at all. So today we're going to be talking about exemptions under the personal income tax. Remember, in the very first video where I explained the content of the Nigerian Tax Act 2025, I mentioned that this particular act has embodied most of the small tax laws that were existing before now. So what this act did was to consolidate these smaller laws and codify them in a single document, which is the Nigerian Tax Act 2025. So in the Nigerian Tax Act 2025, we have other small tax laws that are governed by this act. And one of them is the personal income tax. So the personal income tax taxes that are payable by individuals, income from individuals. So these are like salaries, taxes that are payable on salaries, and business names So I'm going to explain it now. Now, people who will enjoy tax exemptions under the personal income tax are people whose salaries fall within the minimum wage. I mean salaries. When I talk about salaries, I mean annual income, not monthly income, annual income. So if your annual income is either within the national minimum wage or is between 800,000 and below, then you would be exempted from paying tax under the Personal Income Tax Act 2025. So from January 2026, you will begin to enjoy tax exemptions. Nobody will tax you. If you're working in organizations that were deducting taxes from your salary before now, then you would notice, or you should be entitled to your full pay of 800,000 or below. I mean annually, not monthly. Please take note. Now, for business names, because of the status of business name registration under the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020. Business names are entities that are registered either as sole proprietorship or partnership. These are business name registrations. A lot of people call them enterprise and the rest. You know, they are not registered as limited liability companies. They are either registered as sole proprietorship or partnership. Now, these businesses, because they do not enjoy the they do not enjoy what do they call it, the corporate veil of the veil of incorporation does not cover them, let me put it that way. They would now be taxed on the owners of these businesses. Taxes will now be paid by the owners of these businesses. Now, a lot of people have been crying that by 2026 they will start paying taxes, the government will now close their businesses. That's not true. Although you would begin to pay taxes as individuals that own these businesses, not solely as the business. You may enjoy tax exemption. In fact, you would enjoy tax exemptions under the personal income tax if the income you generate from that your business is within 800,000 and below annually. If the income you generate from that your business is within 800,000 and below annually, not monthly, then you will enjoy tax exemption under the personal income tax. What am I saying? If you are a sole proprietor and at the end of the year, what your gain is either 800,000 or below 800,000 at the end of the year, then you will not need to pay tax. Tax deductions will not be made on your account from January 2026. So that's an advantage for you compared to the person who registered a limited liability company. Now, I've decided to take the liberty to do an elaborate video, not in this video, to do an elaborate video where I'm going to differentiate between the business name registration and the limited liability company registration in relation to the Nigerian Tax Act 2025. I'm going to do this video so that we will appreciate where we're coming from and we will appreciate the importance or the benefits of this act, and also know what our responsibilities will be from 2026 in January. So my next question now, I've answered the issue of exemptions from the personal income tax. So my next question, which is my final question, is that I have a question here that says, is income from the federal or state government bonds taxable? The answer is no. Income from federal or state government bonds under the Nigerian Tax Act will no longer be taxable. So when you get an income, when you buy any of the federal or state government bonds and you make your gains or you make your earnings or you make your profit from that purchase, you would not be expected or you would not be taxed, or that profit will not be taxed. Let me put it that way. That profit will not be taxed. You will get your whole money because under the Nigerian Tax Act 2025, these income are now taxable. All government bonds are exempted from tax. I believe I've covered all the questions have been asked under this topic, and I would encourage you to go see other videos. Just in case in this video your questions are not answered, I would encourage you to see other videos. And if you have seen other videos and your questions are not answered, you may drop your question in the comment section. Maybe in my next video, as I'm explaining the difference between a business name registration and a limited liability registration under the Nigerian Tax Act 2025, I would also try to answer those questions. I want to thank you very much for your time, and thank you also for having me. Enjoy the rest of your day. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to all your loved ones or even your enemies that may need this information.